to the Isn't That Rich podcast. Today we welcome on our guest, Michelle Sirles of Rendleman Orchards. Michelle originally received her degree in advertising and worked several years in St. Louis before making her way to Rendleman Orchards in 2014.
So since that time, she's really incorporated her background in marketing and design and has created some really amazing experiences at Rendleman Orchards that continue on today.
Yeah, she's really put Rendleman Orchards on the map, and we're so excited to welcome her on today. Welcome, Michelle. Well, thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. And actually, Rendleman Orchards and Farmers State Bank have a long history together that a lot of people don't know about. And I would love to just start off by first telling us a little bit about you and your history and then how Rendleman and Farmers work together.
Well, when I first moved to Alto Pass 34 years ago, when I got married, one of the first places I went was to the bank. And I quickly learned that Farmers State Bank had been in our family for a long time. Uncle Jimmy, which is Wayne's great uncle, bought some shares in the early 1900s and gradually added shares. And so did Wayne's father, who also has a passion for banking and sits on your board now.
I love that because he is one of the longest serving board members. Well, for sure at Farmers State Bank, but I think in the United States, I think he's the second longest serving board member for a community bank, which is pretty awesome.
Wow. Well, yeah. He absolutely loves banking and business, and so he enjoys that. And while he really did enjoy owning part of the bank, he really found out it was taking a lot more of his time, and he really was pulled in two different directions with the farm. So he enjoys being on the board and you all owning it.
Yeah, that's great. I have heard stories. So at our Alto Pass branch, there are pictures on the wall, and I loved hearing the story about how those photos actually, so it's most of Alto Pass history captured, and it's hung up on the wall in our branch, and you had a lot to do with that.
Yes. So when the bank was sold and you all bought it, we were asked to help bring it back to its earlier state and its original state. So Wayne's mother actually led that project, and I helped her, and we took down the drop ceilings from the 70s and revealed the tin above and had that repainted. And, you know, the Alto Pass branch is from the early 1900s building, and so it has the original oak and brass teller windows there. And so we redid the oak and refinished it and cleaned all the brass professionally and had the safe door repainted by hand. And then we did a project of trying to show some of the history of Alto Pass. So it was Wayne's mom's idea to locate some old photos and show what the downtown looked like back then when it was hustling and bustling. And so I happened to have the only scanner in town at that time.
What time was this? This is like the early 90s?
Early 90s. And so she told people in town to bring me their old photos, and I'd scan them in and we'd have them enlarged. And I met a lot of people. I had two young kids at home, and so they'd bring me their old photos, and while I was scanning them, they'd give me a little piece of history from Alto Pass, and now that's all been matted and framed and hanging on the walls in the bank.
I love it. It really does capture a lot of the history, and every time I go there, I'm like, Tom Jones, please explain to me this photo. What is this? And it's so fun. It's and the way you guys kind of rebuilt it to really accentuate the history is so cool. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. It was a fun project.
Yeah. So you weren't always working for the family farm.
No, I actually met Wayne when I was earning my Bachelor of Graphic Design degree at SIU. So I had planned on going back to St. Louis, where I'm from, and working in design. And that quickly changed when I met a peach farmer. And so I was very clear with him when I got engaged that I didn't know about farming and I wasn't interested in farming. I wanted my own career. And so I did have a career off the farm in design and marketing and human resource. So it was never really the plan that I would join the business. That came much, much later.
Yeah. But how do you think this career, because you had a career in advertising and design, and how did you bring those skills to the farm? Because it has been such a huge asset, I think, as just since I've been in the area, to see how you guys have changed over the past few years and what you've really turned the farm into.
Yeah, I feel like every single generation that has run the farm, each has their own skill set and their own talents. And when you look back at our history, you can see how each generation impacted the farm. And I do have some background in retail and in marketing. I love that. That's my passion. And so it's been really fun for me to put a stronger focus on that and really try to diversify our farm a bit more. So it's a bit more balanced between wholesale and retail. So I think that's what some of the change that the public sees in the region is more on the retail side when we've added the fields at Rendleman Orchards and offered you pick experiences, agri experiences.
Yeah.
I've always said you are a marketing genius. Everything that you do, it just seems like it turns to gold and everyone just loves it. And I'm always like fascinated by the fresh new ideas that you're always coming up with. Obviously, the farm hasn't always had those things, and I think a lot of it's because of you incorporating that. What was that like? When you're wanting to start incorporating those new ideas, do you feel like it was received well? What were some challenges that you felt like you faced in kind of I don't know, what would you call it, like a rebrand almost of?
Yes, and it was, I felt like it was gradual, but I was new and new in the business, but Wayne found it to be very disruptive to the current business model. I would say the first 2 years we were about at each other's throats because I kept, having new things I wanted to do or fun ideas. And Wayne kept telling me, Michelle, I have got to farm. I don't have time for this. And so building things, changing things was time consuming, and he was extremely frustrated. So it took him seeing results to our bottom line, and it also took him hearing feedback from the region on what they liked about it for him to go all in. And I'd say he's all in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you, our listeners who don't really know Rendleman and the whole farm, can you explain what all you have going on there? Because I feel like there's a lot of different aspects, what it was kind of before and now what it's grown into, and just kind of the operations of what you have going on down there. Yes.
So Rendleman Orchards is a 5th generation, multi-generation family farm. Started in 1873. It has been run by Wayne and his family, the generations before them, all that time. So we celebrated our 150th year last year.
So huge.
Yes. And for the majority of that time, it was primarily a wholesale produce operation. And you would consider it a turnkey operation for produce buyers because they could come to an operation like us and unlike some of the larger produce growing regions out in California and such, we do everything. So we plant it, we take care of it, we harvest it, we pack it in our own packing facilities, and then we truck it in our own trucks throughout the Midwest in about an 8-hour driving radius.
Okay. Wow.
So when I joined the farm in 2014, we were about 90% wholesale and 10% retail. And then with the additions we've made, the diversification, the agri experiences, we're now about 70% wholesale and 30% retail. So the majority of our business is still wholesale, but we're offering more and more retail all the time.
Right. And some of the offerings in your wholesale has changed too, or is that more of the retail side? I'm talking about like the front porch peach delivery. I think that is such a cool thing that you now offer. Is that still considered wholesale? Is that more of the retail side?
That would be more retail, and we have an online store for that, but we have expanded in the wholesale also. Actually, Wayne's mother wanted more varieties of apples planted so that people in town that wanted to come out and get apples had more of a choice than just our older varieties. So now we have all the new varieties that are all listed on our website. And same with peaches, keep adding more unique varieties. I think people today, the more unique, the more they want it.
Right.
So we have planted some of that. Wayne has really expanded our pumpkin acreage for wholesale. And he also sells some of the value-added products that Wayne's mom started in the retail, like the baking mixes that are our family recipes, our apple butters, our apple sauces. We have 3 each of those, but they're made with our apples and our family recipes. And now Wayne sells those by the case to our wholesale buyers, and they cross-merchandise that in their stores with our apples or with our peaches.
I know Farmer State Bank likes to gift our customers at the end of July. We send out some Rendleman peaches, and last year was the first year we did the mixes too. So I know our customers were like, oh my gosh, this was the coolest thing to have the pre-mixed and be able to make a recipe from what we got. So I love that offering. That's very cool.
Well, we love that you guys do that in July. You know, we do a lot of corporate gifts, but most of those are November, December. After we close our retail, we do a lot of bulk corporate gifts and ship those out or do pickup. But with you all doing it in July, it's kind of neat. It highlights our season. We appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to what Jared was talking about, like meeting the resistance with the family farm and making the changes. And because I grew up on a farm too. And I know if I told my dad right now, we need to plant some sunflowers and have people come to our farm and make it more of an agri-destination, agri-experience, he would be like, I don't want anybody on the farm.
Exactly. We had never had our farm open to the public prior to that, except for 1 month in October, we had a You Pick pumpkin patch with our market. You know, it was just 1 month. It was right next to the market. But we've never had all of that acreage that you see with the flowers open before. And that was definitely a unique challenge and learning curve for all of us that, we had to have the infrastructure in place. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot of behind the scenes things to get ready for that. And throughout every year, we're adding some type of infrastructure to make it go smoother or make the guest experience better. A lot of signage is needed. Mm-hmm. And you can see we've added a parking lot to control some of the parking and make that easier for folks, and lots of other things. More electricity, more water.
Right. Yeah. All of those things take work too. Yes. So you've probably had to expand your team.
We have. Yeah. We really have. We've had to expand the clerical side of our team for our wholesale as well. And then they stay on year round and double doing work for the farm market prior to us opening. So we do a lot in the off season from November until now. Before we open, we do all of our research, all of our ordering, all kinds of behind the scenes getting ready for the next season. It's a lot.
Right. And you told me earlier today, we were talking, and you said that you there's like 24 people on staff during the winter months, even pruning and taking care of the plants. I had no idea that there were even 24 people employed at Rendleman. It's like, that's a huge,
that's a lot.
I mean, at Farmer State Bank, we have about 70. And we have 5 different locations. And I'm imagining, what does a full in-season employment look like for you? How many people do you have?
It can get up to 75, 80 people in season, because we have our harvest crews, and then we have our packing shed crew, which takes about 30 people to do the harvest and another 35 to do the packing shed. And then you add our farm market retail team. So in season, it's a lot to manage and a lot of people to manage. And then in the off season, we do keep that crew of about 24. I think every business in America can see there's always more and more paperwork and clerical to do. And then also with our retail, if you want to stay in the forefront and try new things and do new things, you have a lot of planning, a lot of marketing, and I try to get as much of that done before we open, because then it's full steam ahead with lots of visitors.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things I love about Rendleman's is I honestly feel like you guys are one of the most community-minded businesses, and you do a lot of, collaborations with other businesses or entrepreneurs and stuff like that too. Can you explain a little bit more about how that's maybe helped the farm or helped your business and helped other businesses as well?
Yes. I've been doing a lot of digging into our history over the past 2 years, preparing for our 150th. And I've heard a lot of stories, and every generation also had their community passion project or projects that they do. And so it's been fun to learn more about that. And then now we do a lot of collaborations with other small business in the region, and it has really proved to be a win-win, especially with social media. Every collaboration you do, the more small businesses that you interact with or you invite out to the farm, they're posting about you, you're posting about them, and both of us gain new followers, new customers, new awarenesses about both of our businesses. It helps our online sales. And, it's really great to have those partnerships and build on them year after year too.
Yeah.
Love it.
I know. So Rendleman has now became kind of a destination. I mean, I've heard friends that when I lived in St. Louis have been down to your farm, and I'd see pictures posted from them, and I'm like, that's where I'm living. How did you find out about this? So how did you come up with this interactive idea, this opportunity, like you said, to use social media to really promote it? And what have you done around the farm?
I would say one of the things I had heard early on when I joined the farm business, I'd hear from other people in general in the region say, I wish our area had that, or I wish we didn't have to drive to St. Louis for that, or Nashville for that. So I really started to look and see what some of the things people were driving out of our region for, and then I started offering them at the farm. And one of those things was photo ops, murals. We were one of the first businesses to paint a mural out at the farm, and it was funny because it was such a big deal then. And people were commenting, where's this mural? Yeah. And social media really helped that, obviously. And it really allows other people to market our business for us. And they have followers and family from all over the US and world. And so then people started coming, people were seeing different things, and the flower fields, that was something that I just enjoyed. And I started adding things that I personally wanted to do or wanted to have in my own backyard up at the farm so that other people without land could enjoy that. And it has become really popular. It's become a draw for our farm market. And I think you see that in every small business right now. There's lots of people doing collaborations in their business to draw people in. And this next younger generation, they don't want to just go buy. They want an experience everywhere they go. If they go to a restaurant, they want experiences. If they go out anywhere, they want to post about it and show what they're doing with who and how. And so we try to really play into that. And we have a lot of beautiful scenery in Alto Pass, and I know that if they show that, it'll bring people to all the Alto Pass businesses or Union County businesses. People don't just drive out to Rendleman's. We might be a destination they come for, but then once they're there, they'll go to the wineries, the bourbon bar, the Cross. They'll buy food. They'll go to the restaurants nearby.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of my favorite experiences was, I think it was one of the first times going on the farm. You're like, here, jump in it was like the golf cart, and you gave us the tour, and you're talking about everything and the history and the sites and everything. And you just feel part of it. And I think that's what people really love about it. There's that Southern Illinois pride of like, this exists in this region, and I get to kind of experience that and learn about it. And You're
Yeah.
such good at storytelling and making everyone feel a part of that experience. It's amazing.
Thanks. I also learned in some of our industry meetings early on too that I would say the generation before me, our parents, every single one had a connection to a farm. They either were raised on a farm, their aunt or uncle had a farm, or their grandparents had a farm, and they would go and spend a week or two, or even the summer, on their family farm. And so they knew about farming. But then in my generation, everyone's a two-income household and more people are working full-time. There's less younger farmers and some of the American farms have gone by the wayside. So, and then, the generation after me, I've really learned many of them do not have a personal connection to a farm, and many have never been on a farm. And so when I started adding some things like the chickens, we had people get out of their car and say, "Oh, what is that?" They had never seen a live chicken.
Wow.
And they've seen them in shows, but not in person. And then one time, right after our very first flower field, I went out to put some things away in the field, put scissors on the scissor tree, pick up some things and bring in for the evening. And I got behind a couple walking on the farm, and they were walking in to their car and to the market. And I overheard them talking, and they said, "Wow, isn't it amazing that we get to be out here on this farm and it's so old, and walk around and see some of these old buildings?" And I heard them say, "I wonder what that is," or "I wonder what this building is." And it blew me away because all of the age and the history that I was trying to camouflage and try to make look prettier was what fascinated other people. So I decided right then I really need to start highlighting more of our history, sharing more of our story on social media and what these buildings are, what they're used for now, what they used to be used for. And that has really become our differentiating factor, actually.
Yeah, and you are doing that education piece. You were telling me, we had a phone call a couple days ago, and you were really telling me about how you are incorporating more of that educational piece to everybody that comes and visit. Can you talk a little about what you're doing there?
I would say our two main focuses that I'm really trying to hit hard is our history and then agroeducation. When I do give some of those tours, the biggest feedback I get is, "Wow, that was so much fun to learn that. I had no idea." And then I decided we would use some of our historical pieces in our photo ops, but then actually this year we are adding a new chicken coop. And I say new loosely because everything we have is somehow repurposed. So it's actually the original outhouse from the original farmhouse that is reimagined into a chicken coop. So we're calling it the poop coop. And we have added a big screened in chicken run onto that and a channel bridge, which is actually a real thing. It's a chicken tunnel, a channel bridge over to the goat pen. And so we are making a larger expanded viewing area of the chickens. And we have more chickens and more unusual breeds that have all different color eggs and that produce different amounts of eggs. And so we are also adding a little outdoor chicken school with fun facts about chickens on chalkboards and little wooden desks. And we're having a larger chicken lounge to sit and a chicken library with books about chickens that people can learn more and more because we just get a tremendous amount of questions about the chickens.
Yeah.
And then we also have a new partnership this year with Angie's Farm out of Pomona. Her father started raising bees and keeping bees in the 70s because his wife had allergies. And then in 2010, Angie and her brother decided to start keeping bees alongside her father, but as a business. So she's grown their hives to over 100 hives with her father, Larry, and brother, Colin. And so this year we've partnered, and they're going to have hives at our farm. We're hosting honeybee hives. And we are going to have some signage out there educating the very basics of bees and honey. And then we're also going to have a bee library with beekeeping books that people can learn from while they're there. And that area is positioned right next to our new butterfly, bird, and pollinator prairie. So that is a new field and a new expanded area that is more in a natural state, and it has all of the milkweeds necessary to feed the butterflies and the monarchs in particular, and then the various wildflowers. I think we have about 24 different types of wildflowers in there that attract all different kinds of birds and butterflies. And we've submitted that information to the Illinois Audubon Society, trying to get our prairie certified by them and educate the region on what it takes to preserve and protect the birds and the various butterflies and the bees and promote that. So
Yeah, you told me a really interesting fact on the phone the other day. I'd love for you to share it with our listeners, because so many people don't know what it takes for the farm to survive and how those bees can help you.
yes.
Yeah.
So when I first got to the farm, I found it fascinating that they actually rented hives. I didn't know about that. So I would go up there, and they did it at nighttime, and a semi would come and unload pallets of hives that we paid quite a bit of money for pollination services. And then Wayne and his parents and a couple of the guys at the farm would come back late at night when you have to move bees at night when they're inside their hives. And Wayne's job was to put on a bee suit and get a smoker and smoke down the hives to keep the bees in there. And then a couple of guys from the farms would drive those hives out to the fields. They'd put them up on pickup trucks that Wayne's mom and dad would drive, and they'd unload them out in the orchards, and they would leave them out there for a couple weeks. And I'd take the kids out there, and we'd watch the honeybees at work, and they'd be pollinating the apples, which without enough honeybees, we couldn't pollinate our crops. So that's why we did utilize those pollination services. And then 2 weeks later, we'd have to reverse the operation and bring all the hives in at night. And, you know, it's really taxing on your team, too, to have them working day and then do a night shift in between. And then we did it again during cucumber bloom. And so now, ever since we added the flower fields in 2018, we found we didn't have to rent hives anymore. We were keeping enough wild bees around year round, and they live in our woods now, and we have enough bees for pollination, and that has saved us quite a bit of money that we don't have to pay for pollination services. And I think the general public doesn't realize that 80% of the food we eat in the world requires pollination. So that's the importance of honeybees, wild bees, and that's why we want to protect them, is our food source depends on it. And so I really want to highlight that at our farm and provide that component of education to the younger generations so that they're very conscious of that. And also, I learned myself researching that we'll be having honey made. Angie's farm will be making honey from those hives for us to sell in our market. And honey is the only food that produces every nutrient a human needs.
No
to
way.
survive.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, and how cool that you get to collaborate and partner with somebody right from the Pomona area, which is so close to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, that's one thing I've said all along. People say you collaborate with so many businesses. And I feel it's a bit of our duty. Southern Illinois has supported our business for 150 years. And there are people that will say they've been buying peaches out at our place for decades, and generations of families support us in coming out and buying our product and even working for us for decades. So I feel it's part of our duty to give back to new businesses in the area or businesses that are younger than us. And that's just a way that we can work together. And when they win, everybody wins. Right. When we win, everybody wins. So
I feel like that's such a good business tactic to have and speak to any business out there, that the more you collaborate, the more profitable it'll be for not only you, but the partners that you build, partnerships that you build.
It is. And, I learn a lot from new businesses because sometimes when you've been in business a long time, you can get stuck in doing things the old way or because we've always done it that way. And a lot of new businesses are also people that are a lot younger than me. And I learn a tremendous amount. I love working with young entrepreneurs because I learn so much from them. I hear from them what they look for when they're buying product and what's important to them. So that's always fun for me. I learn from it, and it's a win-win.
You're such I feel like a mentor and an example to so many people. What kind of advice would you give to maybe another business or farm that's wanting to kind of diversify what they're doing?
I would say, look at what you really enjoy doing. I think if you add something that you really enjoy yourself, that will come across and it shows the authenticity of your farm and of your business. And do something that you're interested in learning more about. I've learned a tremendous amount about flowers, about flower arranging, about all of the pollinators. And so I would say do that, and then also really look at what differentiates you and highlight that. I see a lot of businesses that duplicate what their competitors are doing, but it really doesn't have much to do with them.
Yeah, it doesn't work for them.
No, it doesn't work quite as well. And I think that is what has worked for us is I'm really trying to do things that I love and share that with other people. And when you authentically share what you love with other people, it ignites a passion and an interest in them. And then also to highlight what you're all about. I said early on, I used to say to Wayne, when I'd see all these chippy buildings or anything that looked old, I was always trying to hide it. I was always trying to say, Wayne, we need to plant Indian corn over here and block this and block that. And he kept saying, Michelle, I can't help it. We're old. Everything we have is old. It's part of it. And I wasn't very accepting of that until I heard our customers say they found it fascinating. And it was like a light bulb moment for me, is that's something that is unique to us as our age and our history, and nobody can really copy your history. Or for new entrepreneurs, nobody can copy your journey. So share your story of starting out and some of your struggles that you've faced, and that's for sure going to help somebody else. And other people like to also know, when you just look at somebody's highlight reel on social media, and even ours, it looks shiny, but there's always those behind the scenes struggles. And we've definitely had that. We've had growing pains in the last 10 years. And what we have added, when you take all of that and add it to a very old business, you do have growing pains. And so I've had to reach out to some consultants for help on some of that to solve some of those problems quickly.
And you haven't been afraid to pivot, though. I mean, I feel like every issue that's come up, or you found a different way to, just kind of pivot your business to really roll with the punches and roll with the changing times. Because like I said earlier, there are several peach farms and several farms similar to yours, but you've really put yourself on the map by your ability to do that. So I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. I really have learned to put myself out there. And especially so since I've joined the farm, I thought, if you're really going to do anything great or different, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And I have done some things that have kind of fallen flat, but I've also learned, if it doesn't take off, don't beat your head against a brick wall, pivot, do something different. Don't be afraid to abandon something. Sometimes throwing good money after bad is not the best idea. Right. Just accept, only about 80% of your ideas are going to be good, and accept the 20% and move on. Yeah. And also, we've had happy accidents too, that things I did to solve an issue has hit big. The chickens were that. Those were supposed to be chickens for my house. Really? I wanted them for home, yes. And I ordered the chickens, and I ordered this little tiny coop from Tractor Supply originally, and it all took longer to arrive. And I said, Wayne, they arrived up at the farm. They delivered them there. I said, Wayne, just set them up here. We're starting season now. I don't have time at home. Just put them here next to the market. I'll have time to feed and water them and take care of them up here. And right away, our team took over, because the team in the farm market thought it was so fun to have chickens and take care of them, that they started taking care of them. And then our customers fell in love with them. And at the end of the season, I had a woman say to me, I'm a widow and I live alone, and I come here once a week to sit and have lunch with your chickens. Please don't take them home. And I did notice how much they had become a part of our farm, and how sometimes when I went out to collect the eggs, kids would beg me to collect them, and I'd be lifting them up. And so we still do that on occasion. So there are some things that have been happy accidents, and that is one thing that we've leaned into is if we see people enjoying it and loving, add more of it. And if we see something that hasn't taken off, move on.
Right. Absolutely.
It's beautiful. It's like the fruit of, the farm is not just peaches and apples, it's other things. And you're seeing what's fruitful and you're doubling down on it. I love it.
Yes. And that's one thing. We get a new team every year in the farm market. And some of our folks come back. About a third of our team will come back, but then we have about 2/3 that are brand new. And I told them the number one thing we're in business for is people. Our peaches and our apples and our nectar, all of our product, that's our number 2 thing. But our number 1 thing is we're in the people business. We're showing them about agriculture. We're teaching them about peaches. Yesterday, I posted about an article on the health benefits of peaches and why we want to eat fresh produce and how it's grown and all of that. But in reality, we're in the people business. We want to make them feel welcome. We want our farm to be their farm. And that's the number 1 thing that I tell them is we might be the only farm they visit in the whole season. So our farm needs to be their farm of choice. And if they have questions, they private message us after they've been there. And I want them to have that same feeling when they come to our farm that I did when I first started coming to the farm when I was dating Wayne, and to feel very welcome and to be fascinated by it.
Yeah. So you're about to start a new season. It's about to open. Can you give us a little bit more information about what your season looks like?
Yes. So we are actually going to open just a few days earlier. We're going to open on Monday, the 24th.
June 24th.
Yep. So this coming Monday, we're open a few days earlier than usual because peach season is early. In fact, I would say most farmers are saying in general, things are about 2 weeks early. So we're kind of scrambling to get all the last minute details done. My team is training tomorrow and the next day, and we're excited to open the doors. We have new products in the market, lots of new chicken things to highlight the new poop coop that we have. And we have automatic doors on our chicken coop, so the chickens will come out every day like a chicken march at 10 a.m.
Oh my goodness. So you'll want to be there at 10 a.m.
Yes. We like to play off pop culture, and that's a play off the famous Peabody Ducks in Memphis. And we want to have the famous Rendleman Orchards chickens. And and then, like I said, we'll have the honeybees there that people can come out and actually see the hives and purchase some local honey, and then we'll be telling people all about peaches and nectarines.
Very cool.
Wow.
Well, I'm really excited for your new season to start.
Thank you.
And
Me
I can't wait
too.
to get out there. We'll have to plan a field trip.
Thank
So
you.
fun.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it. We see the flowers gradually coming up. So usually about mid-July, that's one of the biggest questions I'm getting right now. When you asked about how we became a destination, I'm getting a lot of private messages right now saying, when do your flowers bloom? I have to put in for days off work. One woman said she's driving 5.5 hours to get peaches, but she wants to get pictures in the flower fields with her friends she's bringing. And also getting a lot of moms from the St. Louis and Metro East area that want to drive down for peaches, but they really want to do the flower fields and have the experiences. So about mid-July, we'll start seeing some blooms pop, and I'll share it on our Facebook and Instagram.
Can't wait. Oh my gosh. If there is anything you would want to leave our listeners, any last comments about operating and owning a family farm, or changing and making your place a destination, what would that be?
Actually, I would like to hit on one thing that I never knew until I got into the family farm. I did not know that most farms across the United States operate on a working loan, that they take out a working loan prior to season because they're having to lay out a lot of cash for inputs and all of the things that they need to get done before their crop is ever harvested. So we've been working with Farmers State Bank over 100 years. I don't think there's many businesses that can say that they've worked with the same bank for over 100 years. So we really appreciate that partnership, and farms in the United States could not operate without their banks being the partner like you all are with us.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah. If people want to get in touch with you, have questions following this up, what is the best way to find you?
Well, they can email us at hello@rendlemanorchards.com. They can call our business line or message me on Facebook or Instagram. I tend to answer 90% of those. So
Well, that's great. Well, we're so thankful you're able to sit down with us. This will air on the 24th, so you'll be opening today for our listeners.
yes,
Yeah.
well, thank you. We're excited, and we appreciate you helping us get the word out. Join us.
Absolutely. Very cool. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Joe.
We'll see you next time.
So, Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter.